Hi.
Okay, hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are brand new here, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Y'all, today we are talking about Luna and the Lie by Mariana Zapata. This is my 5th Mariana Zapata book, and I just want to start this video out by saying I'm a huge fan of Mariana Zapata. Truly, one of her books is one of my absolute favorite books, The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I love that book with every fiber of my being, and every other one of her books that I have read, I have truly loved. I love her as an author. I often say she's one of my favorite authors. And something about this book specifically, Luna and the Lie, I have been holding off on reading it because I was so excited about it. Mariana Zapata knows how to do a boss-employee, enemies to lovers, workplace romance through and through. Like, every one of her books I've read in some form of another has been like an enemies to lovers workplace romance, or like a sports romance, which I feel is still kind of like workplace because they're all like professional athletes in the books that she's written. So I'm like, I know she can do this trope. I know she can. And this book specifically, I just was like, I feel like this is gonna be a good one. So I've held off on it until now, finally read it, and I'm just really sad. I'm really sad. And I guess I'll get into why. But yeah, if it's not obvious yet, I didn't love this book, and I'm still just trying to process what even happened here. But yeah, let's just get into it. So, as you might be able to tell by the title, this story follows a girl named Luna. She works at a car body shop. She's basically the painter. She paints all the cars. This shop does a lot of like restoration of old cars. They flip cars, but she is always the person that handles the paint jobs, and then she does a bunch of other like little odd jobs around the shop. She's like 26 in this story, and she has worked at this body shop for like 9 years at this point. She's been there since she was like a teenager still. And Luna, we learn as the story opens up, has a very kind of dark past with her family, just not a good family situation. This story takes place in Houston, but she is from San Antonio, and it's obvious that she never really knew her mother, and she clearly no longer has a relationship with her father. Some sort of very big grand falling out happened with her family, and she has no relationship with them anymore, doesn't like them whatsoever, but she has become a sort of caretaker for her 3 younger sisters. And pretty much at the start of the story, along with meeting Luna, we meet the other people that work within the shop. The owner of the shop is this man named Mr. Cooper. He's this older man that really sort of like took Luna under his wing, like whenever she came in looking for a job. Like, she's sort of been like a father figure to her, taught her everything that she knows about cars, and has just really been like a good figure in her life. So he is the co-owner of the shop. He's been the owner for a long time, but a couple of years ago, a new owner was brought in named Lucas Ripley, and he goes by Rip, which is kind of funny, but Rip is kind of polar opposite of Mr. Cooper. Mr. Cooper's like a 70-year-old, nice, happy man. Mr. Ripley is like a 40-year-old, very grumpy, very attractive, just hard ass basically. And right from the first second he meets Luna, he singles her out, obviously, because she's a girl working in a car shop. Like, it's not a super common thing. She's around a whole bunch of guys, and he right away is like, what's up with you? Why are you here? Why, like, how do you know anything about cars? Kind of like, unfortunately, as to be expected, but they just never get off on a good foot with one another, and it's very clear that he doesn't like her. Like, she's kind of accepted that he's not really about her, so she kind of just keeps a distance, keeps it professional. They're not friendly with one another. Honestly, they're kind of like work nemesises in a way. They kind of grind each other's gears. Like, she's just super happy in rainbows and, I don't know, butterflies, and he's super dark, like, I don't know, covered in tattoos but wears long sleeves to cover them, just super serious all the time, and that's like not really how Luna is. But pretty much we learn that even though Rip does not really like Luna, he does owe her a favor. Apparently something happened prior to this story starting where Luna sort of covered for Rip. He told a lie for him, essentially, something that was obviously a very big deal to Rip, but Luna doesn't really know why it's such a big deal. But even though he doesn't like her, he's never about being in debt to people. So he has told her vehemently ever since she covered for him that, you know, he owes her a favor, and he asks her like weekly, have you made a decision? What do you want? What's your favor? Like, I don't want to be in debt to you anymore. So a little bit into this book, we learned that Luna's grandmother back in San Antonio has passed away, and I guess her grandmother was the only member of her family that ever really showed her love or cared about her, and so she just feels that she has to go to this funeral, but she doesn't want to go. She doesn't want to be around her family. She's afraid to see her dad. Like, there's just a million reasons why she shouldn't go, but she knows that she has to, but she's also very afraid to go alone. So she basically approaches Rip and is like, hey, I'm ready to cash in my favor. Come to my funeral. Come to my grandma's funeral with me. Come to my funeral. No, come to my grandmother's funeral with me. Basically Rip is like, no questions asked. Okay, like, I owe you a favor. Let's go. And you know, she also figures like, whatever, her family doesn't care about her, no one's gonna ask any questions, she doesn't really like Rip, and it's easier to bring him and not have to explain her weird family dynamic to him than it would be to like bring some other date or random person. So she's like, okay, this will work. So like that happens about 200 pages into this very long book, and then quite literally from there, I don't even know what else to say, because I genuinely feel like this book just like didn't have a plot. Like, I don't know what the point of it was, and I really tried, like I read the back of the book right before sitting down to film this to be like, okay, like maybe let me read the synopsis and then I can try to kind of form more of a plot line to share with you guys. And it's just like there's just not really much of anything. I mean, like I said, Luna is kind of a caretaker for her older sisters, but they are her younger sisters, I mean, but they are all kind of like at a point now where they've gone off to college, and she's pretty much kind of like an empty nester at this point. So there is some like side story drama that's happening like with her sisters, and then also like Luna's family kind of wants her to get out into the dating world because she's an empty nester now. They like want her to, you know, find a boyfriend, find a man. She's like 26, it's about that time to get married. So like there is some of that, like Luna attempting to go on dates and stuff, and then just like her and Rip, for reasons I really don't even understand, after the funeral kind of slowly getting closer, continuing to butt heads, but there just truly isn't much to it. You know, like I said, this is like my 5th Mariana Zapata book, and I know she's the queen of slow burn. I know her books are all about the very slow, drawn out tension, and genuinely I love it. I love waiting until the last 30 pages for the characters to freaking look at each other. I love the way she does that, but it was just like this entire story was like, just because the love and the romance is a slow burn doesn't mean the rest of the story has to be super slow. And I just felt like nothing happened, like genuinely. This was like a 600 something page book, and I'm like, what did I just read? Like, Ripley did have some moments. He had a few lines, a few little things that I highlighted. Like, I did like him. He had a few moments where he was got kind of like very protective over Luna and stuff, where I was like, oh yes, sir, thank you. But it was just really, really repetitive. You know, like I said, Luna's trying to get back into the dating world, right? So you can maybe imagine what Rip might think of that as he starts to grow more protective of her, and what he might do as she's going on these dates. Maybe tries to interfere a little bit. Maybe that happens like 5 different times and it's just not necessary. Like, it's just a lot of repetition of just things happening over and over, and also like just repetition of Luna's inner thoughts. Like, Luna was just, the longer this story went on, the less I liked her. Like, she just was really, really insecure, and just kind of like let people walk all over her. And I don't know, this story had like a plot twist that was kind of like, ooh, like caught me off guard. I started to catch on to it, but the moment I realized what it was, I was like, okay, pretty cool. Like, I didn't see that coming. But when it got to the inevitable part of like every romance where there's some sort of like point of contention or something towards the end where you're like, all hope is about to be lost, like whatever, you know, an argument or a fight between, you know, Luna and Rip, like just what the issue was, to me was just like so easily avoidable and just so silly, and the time it took to resolve it was like 80 pages too long. I don't know, I'm just talking in circles, but I just quite literally I read this book pretty quickly because I read it on like a plane and I read it over vacation. Like I had a long time to just sit there and read it because I had nothing else to do because I was on a plane obviously. But I'm just telling you, if I wasn't on a plane and wasn't forced to like continue reading this, like it would have been a real slow like I would have had a hard time getting into it, honestly. And yeah, that's just how I feel. Definitely my least favorite Mariana Zapata book I've read so far. Really disappointed by it. I think it had so much potential. Like I loved the concept, and again, like the kind of plot twist of the story and the way everything connected, like could have been cute and could have really been a good story, but I just think it was a lot of like good ideas that just didn't come together in the end, unfortunately, and it just absolutely was not for me. So yeah. Those are my thoughts. If you guys have read this, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm just sad. I'm obviously like going to continue to read Mariana Zapata. I've loved her other books that I've read. You know, All Roads Lead Here, Wait for It. Those are kind of the two that are next on my list that a lot of people have been telling me like I need to read, and I definitely plan on it, but I'm just hoping, I'm hoping this is just a fluke, truly, because it just, I was very surprised, but yeah. Anyways, if you guys have read this, give me your thoughts down below. If you've read other Mariana Zapata books, let me know which one is your favorite. But yeah, that is it for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you very soon and hopefully have a little bit more positive of a review. But yeah, okay, bye.